Hello everyone, here is CRH Films. Sit back and let's get started. Today I'm going to tell you about the 2008 movie The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas, set during World War II. The boy Bruno lives with his parents and his sister Greta in Berlin and has a very cheerful and carefree life. Their house is getting ready to welcome important guests. His father Ralph is getting a promotion, and because of this they have to move to another part of Germany. When Bruno arrives home, everyone already knows about the impending move. His parents and sister tell him about the changes to come. He doesn't want to move anywhere, he is happy here, he has friends here, but his father is in the army and must follow orders, especially in the midst of war. In the evening, many high-ranking officers gather at their house, and they all welcome Ralph. Ralph's parents also come to the banquet, but his mother is not very happy about her son's promotion. He tells his mother that it could be bad for the family if she does not stop expressing her anti-Nazi thoughts. The next day everything is ready for their departure. Bruno says goodbye to his friends and leaves. Their new house is a little gloomy with a high fence and guards with dogs. Bruno doesn't like it here, but he promises to get used to it. He looks out the window in his room and sees several buildings far away in the woods. He thinks it's a farm, but all the farmers wear striped pajamas, which makes him have even more questions. Bruno tries to ask his mother, but she doesn't know what he's talking about. After looking out the window herself, she tells Bruno that they are strange people and it is best not to go to them. He has seen the children there and wants to make new friends, but he is forbidden to go there. Because of this ban, he sits at home alone all day long. He is forbidden to go into the backyard, and the only thing left for him is to play checkers by himself. During dinner, the father informs his children that they no longer need to go to school because he has hired a tutor. After lunch, Bruno sits under a tree and realizes that one of the branches could make a nice swing. He goes to his father's driver, Lieutenant Kettler, with whom his 12-year-old sister Gretel is in love, and asks him for a tire. Kettler calls Jew Paul to him, who tends the grounds, peels potatoes, and generally does all the dirty work. He orders Paul to give Bruno the tire. Paul goes to get the tire and makes a swing for Bruno. Bruno, swinging on it, sees smoke rising from the farmhouse. He wants to see what's going on and gets up on the swing, but he can't keep his feet and falls, breaking his knee. The Jew Paul comes to his aid, takes the boy into the house, treats and bandages the wound. They have a conversation in which Bruno learns that Paul used to be a doctor. He asks him why he changed professions and now works for them. The conversation is interrupted by Bruno's mother. She learns that Paul has helped her son, overcomes herself and thanks him for his help. After a few minutes, a tutor arrives and talks to the children. He learns that Bruno likes to read books, but only of an adventure nature, and later he gives Bruno a propaganda book about recent history, as the children of a Nazi officer must also receive a proper education. Bruno did not like such a book. He noticed that the gate to the backyard was open and decided to see what was there. Outside the house he climbed out through the window in the barn. After running through the forest and crossing a small stream he found himself in front of an area covered with barbed wire. Near the fence sits a boy in striped pajamas with a number on his chest. During the conversation, Bruno learns that the boy's name is Schmoll. Bruno asks him about the place where they are now. Schmoll can't answer anything except that they are forced to work all day and are fed very poorly, but sometimes he manages to escape to the fence to rest. The whistle blows, which means Schmoll has to go back to the barracks. The next day Bruno snatched a chocolate bar and went to his new friend's house, but there was no one near the fence. He sat down and started waiting. He started throwing anything he could get his hands on over the fence. When he hit it he saw that it was energized and thought it was to keep the animals from escaping. After sitting by the fence for a long time, Schmoll never showed up. Bruno did not like the propaganda lessons, but his sister took everything very seriously. She threw away all the dolls and pasted up the walls in her room with pictures of the Führer and propaganda statements. When Bruno's mother went into town, he immediately ran to Schmoll. Bruno asks him about the chimneys that sometimes emit smoke and stink strongly. Schmoll replies that they probably burn dirty things there. Ralph's relationship with his mother has deteriorated because of the promotion, but his father supports him and will even come to visit. Meanwhile, the teacher explains to Bruno that the Jews are a real evil and that the whole of Germany is fighting them at the moment. Bruno finds this hard to believe. After class he goes to the kitchen and takes sweets to treat his friend and a ball as he wants to play a little. Schmoll refuses because if the soldiers see it there will be trouble. Bruno's mother, returning from her trip, smelled a very unpleasant smell from the camp pipes. Kettler had carelessly said one phrase and she guessed that they were actually burning the bodies of the prisoners there. In the evening she quarrels with her husband, but he explains that this is a secret project and also learns from Elsa that it was Kettler who hinted to her about the terrible things that happened there. Ralph's father came to visit them and Kettler was also invited to dinner. During their conversation they learn that Kettler's father fled the country as soon as the war began because he does not share the state's position. Kettler realized that after this news, his career was over. All his anger he took out on Paul, who accidentally knocked over his wine glass. He took him into an adjoining room and beat him very badly. After that Paul never came to their house again. After this, Bruno was very upset. His sister tried to calm him down and told him that the Jews were evil and should be destroyed, but Bruno did not want to believe it, because all the Jews he knew were good. High-ranking servants were to come to Ralph's house and a banquet was being prepared because of it. Shmuel was sent to clean the dishes, and he and Bruno got to talking. Bruno gave Shmuel a cake. While he was eating, Kettler came into the room, saw it and accused him of stealing. Shmuel said that Bruno had treated him and that they were friends. Kettler asked Bruno if it was true, to which he replied that he did not know the Jew. The lieutenant said he would punish the thief. Bruno was very upset that he had framed Shmuel. Bruno was relieved after he watched a film that Ralph had shown to his fellow officers. It was a propaganda film that showed how well the camp lived. Children played with their parents, you could go to the library, and there was even a cafeteria. Bruno was very glad to have such a father who provided a good life and order in the camp. Lieutenant Kettler was sent to the front because he did not report his father's act. Gretel, who was in love with Kettler, became very sad and lonely. Bruno ran to the camp every day to see and ask for Shmuel's forgiveness, but he was never there. One day Shmuel did come. His wounds were still healing. Bruno apologizes to him and they make peace. Ralph is told by telephone that tonight there was a bombing that killed his mother. She was against the Nazi regime, but still a card from the Führer was brought to her grave. Elsa couldn't take it anymore. They scandalized again. Afterwards, they decided it's better to send the children to their aunt's house. Gretel agrees to move, but Bruno does not want to leave, as he has a friend here, but he cannot stay here anyway. After the talk he immediately runs to Shmuel to tell him the bad news. Shmuel is in a bad situation. His father is missing, but Bruno says he will try to help find his father. He wants to dig a tunnel to get into the camp territory. Shmuel promises to get striped pajamas so they will not notice Bruno. On the day of his departure, Bruno goes to the kitchen to make a sandwich for Shmuel, picks up a shovel and runs to the camp, but the sandwich falls out on the way. Bruno puts on his pajamas, digs up the fence and climbs inside. Once at the camp, Bruno realizes that everything shown in the movie is a lie. They run around the camp together, trying to find Shmuel's father. Soldiers run into one of the barracks, take them all away and take them to another building, with Shmuel and Bruno in the crowd. Meanwhile, Mama searches all over the house for Bruno. Elsa and Gretel run to the backyard, and in the barn they see the previously dropped sandwich. Elsa realizes where it has run off to and immediately runs to her husband to report it. He orders the soldiers to find Bruno. The soldiers break down the door in the backyard that leads to the camp. Near the fence, they discover a pit and Bruno's belongings. At the same time, they are all brought into some room, ordered to undress and told that they will now take a shower, but instead they are all chased into a gas chamber, pour out some poison and locked up. Bruno's father ran into the camp and realized where his son was, but it was too late. They had all been killed.